Well, welcome to City Life. And once again, the snow and ice has got to us, but there is a silver lining to every cloud. Gives us an opportunity to replay for you some of those stories that you've enjoyed in the last few weeks.
Welcome back to City Life. Now, most of us will feel some sort of stress or burnout in our lives, and that's where my next guest, Kate, can help us. Now, tell me about your research.
My research is in relation to workplace stress, obviously, but particularly for human service workers and social workers. They're a group of people who are very involved with helping others, as we know, or attempting to help others in really difficult circumstances. They're not always so good at practicing what they preach and looking after themselves, and so I see that as an important role for me to take.
So and that's why you did it?
That's why I did it.
So why did you choose this area?
This area in terms of workplace stress?
To study, yes.
To study. I noticed that even although we know that there's a lot of burnout and workplace stress in social work and social services, there had not been a book on the topic for at least 10 years, for more than 10 years. And a lot's changed. Work's become much faster paced. We have the electronic world, so a lot of people are working at computers, doing their work quite differently. And it was really high time for there to be a book. It was surprising, actually, that there wasn't something, a toolkit or you know, somewhere where all the research was put together.
So who did you research, who did you study for this book?
For this book, I looked at the literature internationally, of course, because the publishers are in the UK, but there were a lot of people in Christchurch keen to talk with me, frontline social workers and managers and supervisors. So I talked with them, but the book's got broader application really to nurses, teachers, anyone really who works with people.
So is it more like a handbook for people?
Yes and no. Yes, it's a handbook. The aim is that to have some advice in it for people, some things that we can actually actively do, but it is very much grounded in research and in theory and literature, but in such a way that it should be enjoyable.
Let's look at some of the things that you found out with your studies.
Yeah. Well, I found out that it is key to have social support. Now, one of the chapters is on community disasters. I wrote it really straight after our earthquake.
In September?
In September, yes. I found it really hard. I was working on another chapter. I found it really hard to concentrate. And I thought, why don't I start my chapter on community disasters right now? But really, in terms of findings around that are relevant, I think, to everyone in our community right now, is social support. It's very, very important. In terms of a community disaster, so when everyone or a lot of people are affected, normalising the effects, just really normalising them so that we don't lose our self-esteem. You know, if you're not able to concentrate, that's normal. So that's important. Having fun together, yeah?
Okay.
Those kinds of things are very important.
So you would suggest, as part of your research, for people to become more social and be part of team sports and... how else can they sort of do this kind of thing? What else can they do?
What else can they do? I suppose looking after yourself, I think healthy eating, some exercise, those sorts of things are very important too. So really just basic things for supervisors and managers to check in with their staff. And I think it is difficult right now. People are asked to do a lot more with fewer resources and in unfamiliar places. And I think that's okay for a while when we've got this adrenaline burst and we can, you know, we can do quite a lot with little. But in the long term, we're really going to have to look after people's time management, maybe sometimes accept that we need to do a little less, work-life balance, so people's needs in terms of family, really to look after those kinds of things.
Okay.
Because it's a marathon, it's not a race we're in.
Now, a lot of people in Christchurch will be feeling that, you know, loss and grief. Now, how is this affecting them in their workplaces?
Yeah, I think loss and grief, it's quite interesting that you ask that. I do write about that, in fact, in the book. And I think we have lost a lot. Some of us have lost workmates, haven't we? And that's very difficult. We've lost familiar surroundings. We've lost knowing what's going to come next. So some workplaces we don't know if they'll survive. And I think there's a lot of loss in that, and grief and sadness. So just as with any grief, we need to accept that that means we'll be sad at times, perhaps irritable.
Okay, so if someone is really struggling and they're kind of, there's like workplace bullying and violence maybe, what can they do about it?
Oh, you're suggesting that with the increasing stress, there may be more aggression. I think we have found that in the home, haven't we? Because the stats on domestic violence have increased. Domestic violence and workplace violence aren't all that different in many ways.
Right.
Where some of us can, because I've researched that too, some of us compare those. And so, yes, workplace, I'd maybe call it incivility. Bullying is quite directed, targeted, and it goes on for a long period of time. But I'd say incivility has probably increased. So, and we shouldn't accept that, and managers to be aware, and colleagues to be aware too, so bystanders to be supportive. Often bystanders fall silent.
Right.
And I think colleagues can do a lot in terms of saying, that's not quite acceptable. But also, if we try not to personalise and realise everyone's under quite a lot of stress, and maybe apologise. You know, if I come across more harshly, then I might have intended to say, oh, I'm really sorry. You know, I'm probably under a bit of stress today. Actually, most people will understand that. So I think workplace bullying is a major issue, but whether that's increased or at this point just incivility that we need to watch.
All right, sounds like a really interesting topic anyway. Now, where can we pick your book up?
You can order the book in any bookseller.
Okay.
Certainly the university bookshop should have copies, but I believe other major booksellers will also sell it, and of course it's really easily purchased over the internet.
Okay, so you have a website?
No, I don't have a website, but if you Google the title, you'll come up with about, well, I don't know how many hits in terms of being able to purchase it really quite easily, and the bookshops will order it for you.
All right, Kate, really good to have you on the program today. You're back with City Life, and I'd like to welcome back to the program Nicky Wagner. Always good to have you here.
Lovely to be here.
Now, you've been away in the US. Tell me about your trip.
Well, I went to San Francisco to find out about how they managed their 1989 earthquake, disaster management and really community recovery. And I built on the trips that the council has made from Christchurch and also Peter Townsend from the Chamber of Commerce. So it was fantastic to be able to talk to people and ask them some really in-depth questions.
Okay, let's look at the difference, because there were those 5 councillors that went along with a business delegation. And so what did they find out compared to what you went over there to find out?
I think the advantage that I had was that I came with all that information under my belt. I read their reports and I read Peter's report, and so I started off with a different base. I didn't have to learn about it. And really, I think 3 major points came out, and they'd probably echo those as well. The first is the importance of confidence. We've got to have confidence to reinvest in our country, in our city, and to make it happen. The second is really that we've got to understand that it's a really long, hard journey, and we've already felt that already, but they're quite philosophical about it. I was told that we have to make haste slowly, and that good things take a length of time. And the reassuring thing about their comments was that every community that I visited said that even though the road was long and hard, they had a better, stronger and safer community out the other end. So that was very reassuring to me. They also talked about collaboration and the fact that we do have to work together, that it's too big an issue for anybody to take it by the horns and run with it. We've got to work together to make sure that we deliver something that's good for all the people of Christchurch and for the visitors, of course. And finally, I think I felt really positive because we had a couple of real advantages over San Francisco and the US. The first is our insurance. About 99% of New Zealanders are insured, both residentially and commercially, whereas in the United States it's only about 15%. And when we went to Santa Cruz, which their main street was basically demolished, only 2 out of their commercial buildings of 34 had insurance. So that's one of the reasons it took so long, because they had to get creative financial packages together, whereas in New Zealand we have got our insurance. There may be a bit of a gap, but we've also got the support of the government. The other issue that came out of it was that whole nationwide support was really important. I looked at what happened at Katrina and New Orleans, and they just didn't get the support of the people beyond their community, and we've certainly got that. The Prime Minister's absolutely committed to the rebuild, and they've put $8.8 billion towards it. So, you know, I felt really reassured, first of all, by the fact that everybody said they came out better in the end, and secondly, because we've really got the finance behind us that they didn't have.
What are you going to do with all this information that you learnt over there?
Well, I'm putting together a report that I'll be sharing with Jerry Brownlee and the Prime Minister, and I'm just talking around. I'm happy to go and talk to groups and just sort of share what I found out. It is important information, and I think it's really positive and reassuring. And I think there's a really strong feeling in Christchurch that we've been through such a dreadful time. We've paid such a big price that we've really got to get this right, and we've really got to produce something spectacular, and I'm absolutely sure we will.
So tell me about the people that you met over there.
Well, the highlight was meeting Art Agnos, who was the mayor of San Francisco in 1989. And he spent a day with us and drove us all the way around San Francisco and showed us what happened, where the damage was, and talked about the decisions he had to make. And the thing that's really tough about this is that you have to make hard decisions. The hardest decision he had to make was to demolish a big freeway which went around the front of San Francisco between the city and the water. Now, it was really big. It was a 2-storied one, and it really blocked off the water from the city. And he made that decision, tough decision, and he was voted out as mayor because the people said, no, 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 we want our motorway. Now, you talk to any San Francisco person now, and they'll say the most vital, exciting, dynamic place is down by the water, and you can walk from the city, and that's the best bit about it. So 22 years later, he's absolutely been vindicated. It was obviously the right decision in hindsight, but he lost his job. But he's a great guy. He just said, I wouldn't change my decision in a heartbeat. And he's so proud of what's down there. And that's what we can do. We can revitalise our city so it is dynamic, it is vital. It brings people together from local areas, but also tourists.
Okay. With everything that you learnt over there, what is the thing that has stuck with you the most?
I think working together to make our city more people-friendly. I think we need to bring more people into our city. You know, there's a lot of people that are going to be unhoused. They're moving out of the red zones, and I'd like them to consider moving into the city. I live in the centre city myself. I think it's a fabulous place to live. You're connected with everybody else. It's close to the amenities. At the moment it's a little bit disappointing, but I see the future, and I think a lot more people might consider moving into the city if we can build housing that is dense but still maintains the quality of life of a suburb. And that was one of the questions that I kept asking all the way through, anybody I spoke to. How do we make our cities a little bit denser so that they can be close together, so people can walk and don't need to have to get their cars out too often, but still maintain the quality of life that New Zealanders want? You know, a little bit of privacy, maybe have an animal, enough storage, put your car somewhere, and that, I think, is the big challenge.
Okay, when's your report due?
Oh, I'm writing it at the moment. Okay. So probably the next 2 or 3 weeks, I'll send you a copy.
Okay, thank you. Right, what else have you been up to? I hear you've been to the rugby.
Oh, yes. Well, I went to the rugby in Eden Park on Saturday night, and I'm am a rugby fan, but I probably would never go. But I'm the chair of the Love New Zealand campaign, which is about recycling when you're outside, when you're at events or in the public places, because New Zealanders are really good at recycling in the home. About sort of 98% of homes have recycling and they put their stuff out in their bins. So they're good at that. But only about 18% of the waste is recycled when you're out, when you're in events and things like that. So we've got this fantastic campaign, which is really centred on the Rugby World Cup. Government has got together with the Waste Minimisation Fund. Local government has got added to it, and then business has got together. And so the three stakeholders have created this campaign, which will run right through the Rugby World Cup, and will cover all the fan zones and the public spaces and the stadiums. And really the idea is to show the world that New Zealanders really do have a clean, green ethic and that we are prepared to recycle. But I do want to make sure that Christchurch understands that they're not going to miss out, because this campaign will be rolled out in our city, in the fan zone and in the event centre in Hagley Park, and it will come back into the city as we rebuild.
Good, okay, and bird's eye view?
Oh yes, now the bird's eye view is so much fun. The bird's eye view is basically getting Christchurch women together to see what they want out of the earthquake restoration and rebuild. And I've had one event and we had a lovely time, and I've got another one coming up on the 24th of August. So if anybody wants to come along, it's at 6 o'clock at night, and it's at Bailey's Auction House on the corner of Morehouse Avenue and Deans Avenue, so they can ring my office to RSVP. But I'm also creating a radio program out of this. It's been so successful hearing these really fantastic, inspirational and inspiring women talking that I'm getting them back on the radio and on Plains FM, and we're talking about their particular segment. So each week I'll have a little story, a segment from some of these really fantastic women that I felt were just being a little bit hidden underneath under the rug, or they weren't actually coming out as prominently as some of our men people are when we're talking about the rebuild. But certainly they're there, they're certainly doing great work, and it's great to hear from them.
Great, Nicky, thanks for coming on the program.
Cheers.
Tell me, what is Eldernet first before we get into your study?
Okay, so Eldernet's New Zealand's largest online searchable resource for older people. It's available on www.eldernet.co.nz, and older people and those people who are supporting them can come online and find out information about services available to them when perhaps they're thinking that they might need a little bit more help. So it could be help at home, they might want to look at moving into a retirement village or even into residential care.
When I saw the word Eldernet, I was like, yay, we're getting someone to teach us about how to use computers with the older community in Christchurch. But you do have a relationship with...
Yeah, there's a great organisation around called SeniorNet. SeniorNet is a fantastic organisation. It's run mainly by volunteers. People can go and find where their community SeniorNet resource centre is. They can then go along, learn how to search the web, send emails, upload photographs. So it's a great service, and people really should head along there if they'd like to know how to use the computer a bit better.
Now, Eldernet is from Christchurch, right? And it's a family business.
Absolutely.
Tell me more about that.
So Eldernet is a family-owned and operated business. We are based in Christchurch, although we are nationwide. It's my family business. The director of the company is Eleanor Bodger, who's my mum. There's me and a group of other people in the team there who work to support both older people and the providers of services for older people, so that everyone's able to find a place to communicate what's available and those sorts of things. Okay,
well, let's look at the latest study.
Okay, so what happened in the Canterbury earthquakes, obviously for places like rest homes, retirement villages and home support services, they had to keep going. Older people continued to need their support, so they had to just soldier on. After the earthquakes, I had a business trip booked up to the Waikato. I was up there, and all I could think about was the fact that people kept asking me all the time, what should we do? What's the best thing that we should do? What worked really well for providers down there? You know, did the emergency plans work? And I lay in bed in the evenings and thought, oh my goodness, I've got to get this information from the Christchurch providers out to the rest of New Zealand. So I came back home and spoke to the Canterbury District Health Board, and we approached them for some funding so that we could commission some research on the lessons that we learnt here in Canterbury. That went through incredibly well. The DHB contributed some funding, and we were able to bring on Dr Sue Carswell, who's an independent researcher, to conduct the research. She went and we did something quite unique. We offered the interview to all the providers, which meant that we had an enormous survey. It took her an incredible amount of time, and some of our staff went out and helped. We interviewed owners of rest homes, owners and operators of retirement villages, home support services, and also workers on the ground themselves. So we interviewed cooks and cleaners and caregivers. And we talked about what did you learn, what really helped, what didn't work so well. And we've compiled that all together in a research document called What We've Learnt. And that's available for free for anyone to look at on the Eldernet website.
Okay.
And we hope that it's a way of sharing the lessons that we learnt with everyone else, so that if something happens to them, it could be a flood or a volcano or just a flu outbreak, that there's some lessons there that people can take on board, and that it will help so that we don't have, you know, the same sorts of mistakes happening again.
Okay, let's look at some of the things that were uncovered in your research.
Okay, so one of the things that really stood out is that providers of services to older people did an amazing job of putting those people first. And for me personally, one of the things that I find really amazing about that is often those people are some of the lowest paid workers in our economic environment. Caregivers often get paid minimum wage, but these people turned up whether they were rostered on or not, and continued to deliver an amazing service to people at a really stressful time, because these people may have suffered great personal loss themselves, may have lost their homes, their businesses, their friends and family. So that was pretty amazing. There were some other amazing figures around the fact that the Canterbury region lost over 600 aged care beds. So that's a phenomenal lack of choice all of a sudden for people, and it's meant that for those people, the 300 or so people who were evacuated from Canterbury from aged care facilities, it's actually meant that there's not enough beds for them to come back into. So it's really been quite a big learning for providers as well as the District Health Board around how we can best manage that evacuation, the repatriation and the immediate responses.
Okay, so it's called the What We've Learnt Guide. Do you hope that other businesses will pick this up and have a look at,
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. It's my vision that we'll be able to take this document all around New Zealand. On Monday we had a research launch here in Christchurch. We had speakers from the Canterbury Earthquake Recovery Authority, the District Health Board and Dr Carswell herself. I'd like to replicate that all around New Zealand, perhaps have some geologists or geographers who could talk about natural disasters that other areas might be impacted by, and have people able to come together and listen to the learnings that the people here have been able to share.
What's the feedback been so far?
Just that people have been really pleased to hear their own stories, that people are really pleased to celebrate what went well, because a lot of things did go really well. There was a lot of, you know, September gave us a little bit of a practice run, unfortunately, but it did mean that people had thought a little bit more about what they needed to do. People were a little bit more resourced for the fact that they may have to cope by themselves for a while, which was something that surprised some people. Some people weren't prepared for the fact that they may have to do everything by themselves for a long time. That water and power and sewage can stay off for more than a day, that it can stay off for weeks. So, yeah, it's a really interesting research document, and it's written in common language.
Okay.
So Dr Carswell's made a great effort to demystify, you know, the research world, and people that I gave it to proofread, I was just saying, look, please just have a look at the layout, and they were absorbed by it, couldn't put it down. It's really short, it's only 34 pages, but it's got some really easy to access information in it.
Can you see on your website, Eldernet, can you see what the most searched for item is or subject is?
No, the Eldernet website is designed to give everyone sort of a clean slate when they come on board. So what people can come on board, come onto the website and they can look for home support services, they could look for retirement villages or rest homes. We're lucky here in Canterbury that we've also got funding from the Canterbury District Health Board. So people are able to see actual residential care vacancies on a live report. So because moving into residential care is a little bit like going into a hotel, in that if there's no room at the inn, you can't come in. So here in Canterbury, you can actually come onto the Eldernet site and look at that live report that tells you where you may be able to access residential care.
Cool. Okay, what's the website again?
www.eldernet.co.nz.
Excellent. Esther, good to have you on the program.
Lovely, thank you.
Welcome back, and we've got Rachel Vogan here to talk about gardening. I'm a little bit nervous.
I seem to make you nervous.
Every single time you're in here, I just get a little bit nervous and shake a little bit.
Yes.
Look at me, shaking.
They're actually not going to hurt you.
Right. I mean, I know that you're actually well impressed with these beautiful spring flowers here.
I am.
And my plant's still thriving.
Yes.
Actually, I should have brought my pot plants from upstairs down because I want to show you how well they're thriving as well.
Excellent. Well, we're going to start you on microgreens in a few weeks. So we are going to be growing things here. You are going to be doing it.
That sounds really fun. Okay, today these look like yams.
They are yams.
That looks like ginger.
It's actually, this is a globe artichoke.
Okay.
And the interesting thing about these, which is quite funny, is that when you eat them, they often give you a bit of gas and they can be called fartichokes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you don't probably want to have these with an intimate dinner, but they just taste divine. And they're a bit of a weird vegetable to grow.
Yeah.
They have a flower like a sunflower, and you eat these knobbly bits under the ground. So they sort of look, they don't look great, but they taste divine. So you plant these under the ground.
But it does look like ginger.
It does look a bit like ginger, so I'm going to let you away with that. I'm thinking that's ginger, yes.
Now, and these things here look like just dirty yams.
They do. They're actually Maori potatoes.
All right.
Yeah, and the reason that I've brought them in is that you need to sprout your potatoes before you plant them. So we need to start them growing. You know how sometimes, this may happen to you, you might get the odd potato in the pantry and it starts to sprout because it's got sort of a way, it becomes like a triffid, it sort of comes up through the pantry.
That actually does happen to me.
Yes, yeah. Well, you're not the only person.
Right.
So that's called sprouting. You can't plant the seed potatoes from your pantry. You need to go and buy them from the garden centre because they're basically the right potatoes to grow.
Okay.
So we need to start the process. So we start forming these little green shoots here.
Okay.
And when they're about as long as your finger, that's when you plant them in the ground.
All right.
So we call this sprouting, or some older people might call it chitting.
Okay.
Yeah, but I like to say sprouting because
Let's call it sprouting.
Much easier to say.
Sounds a bit rude,
Yes.
actually.
Well, it could just sound a bit rude. So these are all called little eyes, and then the sprouts come out of there. So we put them on a tray somewhere cool, and I put them somewhere dark to sprout, and that takes about a month. And the same with yams.
But the yams look like they're ready to eat.
Well, they are, but we need to start sprouting those as well.
Okay.
But you don't plant these out until the frosts are finished. But because they take about a month or so, we start getting them ready to plant now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're getting yams ready to plant.
And potatoes.
Potatoes ready to plant, but it has to be, the shoot has to be as long as your finger.
Yes. So you can literally just buy them, lay them in a tray or in a box, put them out in the garage or in a spare bedroom, and wait about a month for them to start until their shoots are long enough to plant.
Do they have to be in the sun or just anywhere? Do they just...
When you plant them in the garden, they need full sun.
Yeah.
All vegetables, you need full sun for your vegetable gardens. Shade is not ideal.
But what about when you're just waiting for the sprouts to come out?
Oh, you can. They don't have to. They could be in the sun. They could be. Doesn't matter. They don't need all day light or they don't need all dark. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So let's have a look at your book.
So if you're not sure how to grow potatoes or anything like that, you can always look for like a really good vegetable book. And this book here has a lot of good information on potatoes.
Okay.
So obviously this is the end result. You know.
So from this to that beautiful thing.
Yeah, that will produce about 10 to 15 potatoes.
This will?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's amazing. And so it's very, very cost effective when you think one will produce sort of 10, 12, maybe even more. And even you can do it. But I'm not going to start you with the spuds. I might start you with spuds, but microgreens, we're definitely going to get those going.
Okay, fun.
Yeah.
What are those seeds for?
Oh, they're just in there because I went to talk to a garden club recently, and this is the great thing about gardeners. They give you things.
Oh, yeah?
They share all the time. So this is pumpkin seed from the Woolston Garden Club.
Really?
No, not pumpkin seed, parsnip seed.
I was going to say, man, these are tiny pumpkin seeds.
No, parsnip seeds.
Parsnip seeds?
Yeah.
Wow. So you just sprinkle some of these?
I would sow those in a little row. So dig over the soil, rake it nice and fine, then make a wee row, a little furrow, sprinkle the seeds and then cover them over and water them. Okay. And they'll be away, yeah.
Did you accidentally leave these in here and I've picked them up and you had to talk about them?
Yes.
Yeah. I'll put them there.
Yeah.
Nice prominent place.
Yes.
So, okay, we're getting our yams and our potatoes ready to sprout.
Yes.
What about the artichokes?
We just plant those in the ground, but I brought them in because they're quite unusual looking. So
yeah.
And I like the fact that they're called fartichokes. So
it makes me laugh.
And kids love that. So anything that adds a bit of humour to get you involved with the garden is good.
Why didn't my mum tell me that when I was younger? Then I would have been planting. I'd be showing you how to plant things.
Well, That's like maybe your mother did try, and maybe you just headed sort of more down that sort of fashion and beauty sort of role. Yeah.
Oh, thanks very much.
Yeah.
Neither of those, but well, actually,
I did see you on the power plate in the latest CC magazine.
Thank you for promoting CC magazine.
Oh, I
it
was
is out today.
Actually.
So it's just there on the corner of the table, the lounge room table. Yeah, CC magazine, pick it up today.
Yes, seen on good coffee tables everywhere.
Yeah, exactly, especially on City Life. Now, yams, how do we wait for them to sprout?
They take about a month as well, so and little shoots will start appearing as well. So you just do them the same as potatoes, and they need to be planted in full sun as well. And you leave those in the ground. Yams take quite a long time to grow. They're about 6 months. Potatoes are about 3.
Okay, and these are just the same. You wait for these to sprout as well.
Yes, but they're Mary potatoes. They're beautiful. They're black and beautiful, and they're so sweet. So
I want to grow some of those.
Do you?
Yeah.
I can actually put in a couple for you, actually.
Okay.
And we can grow them in a pot or a bucket.
Really?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so next time you're here, we are actually going to be doing some growing.
We're going to be starting microgreens.
I can't wait. Do you know what? Every time
I pick up... Could you say that with a bit more sincerity?
Microgreens, I cannot wait.
Yeah.
But you know what I was thinking about? I was thinking about the dirt on my fingers and how I wipe them on the couch. But don't tell anybody. Okay. Thank you for coming on the program. You're back with City Life, and welcome back, Helen Mounsey. Now, last time we talked to you, we talked about how sexual relationships have been affected by the earthquake. Now, what are the other things that are helpful for us to know about that can impact our sexual relationships?
Well, sex and sexually relating is such a complex thing, isn't it? Successful sex is far more than getting aroused and having an orgasm. And when you think about it, the way we relate has got a lot to do with the way we've been parented and the families that we've come from, because many of us have come from families where no one spoke about sex. It just wasn't talked about at all. And we don't get those skills naturally. We actually have to learn them. We're meant to know what to do, and often that's very difficult for people because they have a range of experiences, some including abusive reactions to them or abusive backgrounds, and that interferes with the ability to be intimate, because after all, that's really what good sexual relating requires, the ability to be intimate with someone.
Okay. What if we're an anxious person? How can that affect us?
Well, anxiety certainly can get in the way of being anxious, and anxiety can really get in the way of being intimate. And when I speak about intimacy, I'm not meaning just sexual intimacy. Intimacy in general, and that's allowing yourself to be close to a person, to be known to them, to not hold back our feelings, and to be truly connected. And for a lot of people, that's quite a risk. And the risk is that if we let ourselves be known, we might be seen as being wrong or different, and that for many people represents being disapproved of and actually being a failure. And anxious people tend toward that more. They also tend to have high standards to measure up to. They've been brought up with high standards or high expectations, so they're likely to set themselves high standards and set their partners high standards as well. Seeking approval is a common a thing you notice with anxious people. They are wanting more approval and can be very easily find it difficult to be vulnerable.
Okay.
Yes.
What are some of the signs when it's starting to become quite a problem for someone?
Well, I think what you would notice is a partner would be becoming distant in a relationship, closing down on their openness, as it were, not allowing someone to know them well. An anxious person is also, or can be, quite insistent in a relationship, quite insistent in the family, wanting perfection, hard on themselves. They can sometimes get irritable when things aren't going well for them. So their anxiety is up. They have sometimes difficulty making decisions. And they have difficulty sometimes with things being unpredictable. They like often to be in control, and of course recent earthquake times have added to that for a lot of people who are wanting things to be, well, we all want things to be predictable, don't we? I think in addition, out there, society has an enormous number of expectations of us, and that adds to people's worry. Anxious people have more worries than normal.
Let's look at these expectations.
Well, I think many of the expectations are actually myths. They're not true and they're not real in life. And I think about the standards that we have set for us about our body, about how it looks and how it performs. One example that I see frequently is the myth about what a real man is. And that if you're a real man, you must be good in bed, you must please your partner, you should have a good, strong erection and focus on lasting a long time during intercourse. And the outcome of that, of course, is that a lot of men get quite anxious about that, and we call it performance anxiety. Because often what happens is that the penis has a mind of its own. It decides that this pressure to perform is all too much and sometimes will give up. It will arrive too early or fail to arrive at all. And unfortunately, this becomes more than a hiccup for a couple. It can set in as something that becomes a bit of a problem. I think it helps to seek sex therapy and a professional to look at the broader aspects of the relationship to see what underlies this anxiety, where those pressures come from.
Okay.
And it is a myth, what virility means. Sometimes a man hasn't learned how to turn his partner on, that he has this set idea of how he must behave. Women worry a lot too. They have often unrealistic images of their bodies, and as a result are sometimes deeply dissatisfied about how they can't measure up to what's expected of them out there.
All right, so for people to find out more, if they are an anxious person, you do suggest that they seek a sex therapist. How will they get in touch with you or somebody else?
Well, the website, Sex Therapy New Zealand, means for anybody that they can go onto the website and access a well-trained professional sex therapist there. Also available on the website is Robin Salisbury's excellent and well-reviewed book, Staying in Love. That's a very helpful guideline for anyone in relationships who want to learn more about themselves and about their partner.
Okay, so that's sextherapy.co.nz.
.nz.
Helen, really good to have you back on the program.
Thank you.
And we'll be back after this break. Welcome back to City Life, and it's my pleasure to welcome Penny Ashton, hot pink teeth and tits. I can't say the word.
You can't? Am I allowed to? Can I say?
Yeah, sure.
Tits. Especially the New Zealand accent. Hot pink teeth and tits is the name of the show.
Now tell me about this show. It sounds good.
Well, if you're wondering why I'm wearing this, the idea is that in 1983, at the age of 9, I entered the Miss Waikuku Beach competition, and I did not get through. I can't say that this was made recently in the reclaiming of history. My sister got through to the semi-finals, and I did not. And I can still remember what I was wearing, so I think it's left a lasting impression on my life.
I'm sure.
No, I don't think I was. I was wearing sort of stripy metallic shorts with a gold. It was the 80s, you know. And I didn't win, and I was devastated, and I've made a solo show about it, 30 years later. Yeah, it's about the history of beauty pageants and beauty pageants in general. I went to Miss Universe last year. They relaxed their height, weight and age requirements.
Right, yeah.
That's right, I was Miss New Zealand. No, I was a journalist, and I was there, and I interviewed a lot of the different beauty queens. And so in my show, there's about 15 minutes of documentary from being at Miss Universe.
Fun.
The rest of the time, it's PowerPoint sort of displays, because you have to have pictures of things like Miss Landmine Survivor.
Oh.
Miss Transsexual International, Miss Klingon Empire, things like that. These are all out there. In fact, I learnt some Klingon, which is Hab Shoshli Kuch.
What does it mean?
Which means your mother has a very smooth forehead, which is a huge insult in Klingon.
Is it?
Yes, they've got those wrinkly forehead things. And there are people that speak Klingon, and there's people that have translated Much Ado About Nothing into Klingon.
No.
Very cool people.
You're going to learn it?
Yeah. But I just did a little bit of that because I figure you have to have an insult to hurl at the woman that beats you at Miss Klingon Empire.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and I sing some songs, like I'm singing Come On Lorraine for Lorraine Downs instead of Come On Eileen.
Oh.
I've changed some of the lyrics and stuff like that to some songs. And I do a jazz dance.
Do you?
So it's an action-packed hour and a bit.
Makes me want to go and see it.
Good. And hopefully everybody else as well.
Do you know what I love the most is that you've actually got the sash made.
Yes, I got two made because I wasn't sure what colour my costume was going to be, so I had to get the right complementary colour. So yeah, there's a guy out in Auckland somewhere that I went out and he makes these and he puts a little fringe on with a hot glue gun. It's very high tech.
And you watch him while he does it.
Made, yes.
Now you're from Christchurch.
I am from Christchurch.
Because I know this because I got my entertainment book from the Court Theatre from your dad.
From my dad or my mum.
Your mum.
Okay. Yeah.
But your dad was there, and I had a great conversation with him.
Good.
He showed me around the house.
Oh, did
he? Yeah. And I was like, well, I must go, but I'll stay for half an hour and chat.
Did he try and force drinks on you or anything like that?
No, we just had a really good chat.
Yes, he likes to chat. It runs in the family.
Yeah, he was really interesting. And then at the end, he's like, oh, you might know my daughter. I was like, oh my gosh, wow. I feel quite honoured.
Did he tell you he used to be a condom vending machine salesman?
You're kidding.
No, he did gambling, these little cards that you open in pubs, and if you've got 3 J's, you win $15. So gambling and sex is what my life is based on.
Wow. Incredible.
And we're Catholic.
Aww.
So that's good. I just bashed my microphone.
Oh, did you? Yes. Good. Boom. Yeah. So how important was you to come back to Christchurch to do the show?
Oh, like I know it sounds a bit trite somehow, but no, really, because I was supposed to open in April. It was supposed to world premiere in Christchurch.
Oh.
Because I've done a number of solo shows in Christchurch, and the audiences have been great. They support the local girls, all that sort of stuff. And I was supposed to be at the Harbour Light in Littleton.
Oh.
I've done all of my solo shows in Christchurch either at the Repertory Theatre or the Harbour Light. So I was just really saddened by the loss of the venue. I mean, I've been very lucky to be untouched sort of by the human tragedy element of things. So the venues have really sort of upset me. That's why I'm doing it in a school hall. I never would have done that, but obviously needs must, and it's near my parents' house.
Good.
So in fact, I read diary entries in my show. I have some tragic diary entries, for example, Valentine's Day, a cruel reminder that I am unloved. They're tragic, but amusing. And they were all written within a few hundred metres of the Caparel School Hall.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool that I'm actually doing them there. Or sad, I don't know.
Yeah. It is tragic. Yeah. So where are these diary entries from, just out of
I've got
interest?
about 28 diaries, yeah, and so that one was from 1995. I've got some good ones from, I'm trying to think of another one. Well, it's permed, and I hate it. That's from 91. So it was a bit late, 91 to perm, anyway, so, fair enough.
Oh, maybe, yeah. So you're based in Auckland now?
I am based in Auckland.
I'm going to guess that because that's where you got your sash glued.
Yes, that's right, I got my sash glued in Auckland, yeah.
So what do you do when you're not gigging?
I try and get gigs. It's quite hard I haven't had a day job for about 12 years, so, you're always looking for work.
Yeah.
I've just moved in with my boyfriend.
Have you?
Yeah, and he's really nice.
Aww.
He's English and he's lovely, so that's been nice. You see other people cohabitating and seem to be quite blissful and think it'd be quite nice if that happens one day, and it has, and it is really nice. He's a poet, and so am I, so we've done a couple of shows together and stuff. So yeah, I mean, I'm sort of trying to write. Yeah, I'm a performance poet. I performed at Glastonbury last year.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Doing poetry. It was huge. On my first show, I think I had 25 people watching. It sounds great, And in Glastonbury, I'm amazing, and there weren't very many people there. But the second one, there were more. There were a lot of people there. There was like 200,000 people. It was crazy. Glastonbury, if you haven't been, it's a city. They build a city.
Yeah.
There's often the gentle wafting smell of excrement as well. Because there's a lot of temporary a lot of temporary toilets, you know, and all that sort of stuff. So you get used to that. But also, like, you know, I saw Stevie Wonder. I saw, you know, there's so many acts. I wish I'd been to see Beyonce this year, though. I would have liked to see Beyonce with her all-girl band.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
I would have shaken my booty along with her, definitely.
You would have done a poetry slam with her.
I don't know if she's into that so much, but yes, there was a poetry slam. I wasn't involved in that, but I do run a big poetry slam. Actually, I ran one. The first time I ever ran it was here at the Ducks Deluxe. R.I.P. And it was called it's Poetry Idol, so that's gone really well and stuff. But no, Glastonbury was crazy. It was nice to be invited.
Now, we are getting the big wind-up.
I think you're telling us to stop. Hurry up, shut up.
But you've sold out everywhere, in Adelaide, in Edinburgh.
Yep. It was a small venue in Edinburgh. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Yeah, Christchurch, it's been awesome. Performing at the Repertory was amazing. I had 300 people. Didn't sell out there, but at 300 people. Oh, and in Rangiora, on a big tour last year, I had about 400 people sold out.
Awesome.
So that was amazing. So, yeah. The Paparoa School Hall sees 400, so I'm not imagining I'm going to sell out there, but there will always be door sales available, so you should come along. But you can book at Event Finder.
Okay.
And find all the details out on my website, which is hotpink.co.nz.
Awesome. So that's July 29th and 30th?
Indeed, and then the 5th and 6th.
Okay, and it's at Paparoa...
120 Paparoa Street, Papanui.
All right. Hot pink teeth and...
Tits!
Tits. Right. Penny, really good to have you on the programme.
Thanks for having me.
Now it's my pleasure to welcome Nakita Turner, the Westfield Riccarton 5 Minutes of Fame winner. Good to have you on the programme.
Thanks.
Now tell me about the competition.
Well, I think there was 60... contestants, and you entered, and then it was the heat, and then first and second got through to the finals, and first place won an iPod Shuffle, and second place won $50 voucher, and I came second in that. So we went to the final, and I got through with this dancer. She's really amazing. And then it was the finals, and I think there was about 9 people, and then that was in South Island.
Yeah.
And then the winner got $500 in Westfield voucher, so that was me.
Cool.
Yeah, and then this girl Tiffany, I think it was Tiffany,
her name was, Tiffin.
Yeah, Tiffin.
Tiffin, yeah.
Yeah, she won $300.
Yeah.
Because she came second, and Casey won $200.
Cool. Now, because you've got the guitar beside you, I'm going to guess you played the guitar.
Yeah.
And maybe you sang?
Yeah.
Okay. So what did you play?
I played an original song that I wrote.
Yeah.
It's called Why.
Oh, cool. Hopefully we'll be able to hear it a little bit later on.
Yeah.
So who do you get your inspiration from for your music?
Definitely Brooke Fraser.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What is it about his songs that you like?
Well, they're all original. Well, most of them.
Yeah.
And I don't know. She's just
She's really pretty and she sounds really good as well, eh?
Yeah.
And her songs are fun, like that latest album, Flags.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yep.
Yeah, especially those first couple of songs. Now, Westfield Riccarton, you are the only South Island competitor now for the Westfield Malls.
Yeah.
So you are the South Island representative for the Nationals.
Yeah.
When are these? Like, what happens? How do you get to the finals?
Well,
or you will be going to the finals?
Yeah, on Westfield's website, there's 9 contestants.
Yeah.
One of them's me.
Yeah.
And you vote for your favourite.
Okay. Do you know what the website is called? Is it Westfield?
Just type in Westfield, I guess.
Westfield.co.nz.
Yeah, and then 5 Minutes of Fame.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you're in there as the only Christchurch representative.
Yeah.
And the only one from the South Island.
Yep.
And when do we find out where you came?
I think it's in 2 weeks.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so we better start voting for you.
Yes.
Now, and there was also along with your brothers, you won another competition recently. Tell me about that really quickly.
Yeah, Singapore Airlines Starfest, and the prize was a trip for 4 to Singapore.
Fun. So you're taking your 2 brothers who were in the band as well?
Yeah.
And your mum?
Yeah.
Do you think? Yeah, she'll go as well. That's fun. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, we would really love to hear your original song, Why?
Yeah.
And we also must remember to go onto the Westfield site and vote for you as well.
Yeah.
Nakita, well done. Let's listen to Why.
Yeah. She left the room with tears down her face. I felt so bad that I just let the case down. She's always been stuck in my mind, 'cause that was the day, the last day I saw her. If only I'd see her one last time, we'd share our dreams all over again. We'll laugh and we'll cry once more, because we know that that was the last day. And why do you have to go? Tell me why. You got a reason to tell me why. Do you have to go? Tell me why. You got a reason to tell me why. Some people hold that grudge because we knew them. Me and the girls used to joke about a band. We'd make up the songs, then play them to the family, because we know that that was the last day. And why do you have to go? Tell me why. You got a reason to tell me why. Do you have to go? Tell me why. You got a reason to tell me.
And let's hope that tomorrow's City Life will be slightly more to what you would normally be watching.